I'd like to first acknowledge and thank Dr. Lindsay Knowles, a research fellow at the University of Washington School of Medicine, for her contributions on connection to nature this session. Today's information is intended for educational purposes only and is not intended as individual psychological treatment or advice. And today we'll start by normalizing that there is no unified definition of spirituality. It's different for each of us, though there may be interconnected themes that foster connection to oneself, others, their environment, communities, the world, and beyond. For today, spirituality may be thought of as that which gives meaning and a feeling of vitality to one's life. When people connect with their spirituality, they feel centered, calm, and energized. Spirituality is a powerful aspect of the human experience that can help fuel one's efforts to achieve wellness in the face of life's challenges and obstacles, including living with MS. Often in life, people become aware of being on a spiritual journey, particularly when confronted by a major shift or crisis. When faced with a significant challenge, we're often faced with the duality, that of coping with danger and simultaneously appreciating undiscovered opportunity. Each crisis brings fears about the uncertain future, but also opportunities for growth. When you think about a MS diagnosis and living a life with MS, you might feel scared. Finding a connection that feels spiritual to you, to something that holds a higher meaning in your life, can be a great chance for personal growth. If you imagine life as a path and crises or challenges as detours along the way, tapping into spirituality can lead you not only to survive, but to thrive. Religious beliefs or a connection to organized religion may or may not be central to a person's spirituality. For some, religion is the driving force of their spirituality and where they feel most grounded and at peace. Religion and spirituality have been credited with providing profound psychological comfort, and in the case of organized religion, a sense of community to help people both in sickness and in health. And countless researchers have examined claims made about religion or spirituality and life and longevity over the years. One group from Stanford determined that while there's inadequate evidence to suggest that people who lean into religion live longer, there is persuasive evidence that attending religious services is associated with about a 25% decreased risk of mortality amongst healthy people. One researcher even concluded that spirituality and religion could be a very important aspect of coping. For some, it's more the philosophical aspects that provided help, and for others, it was a social part of regular attendance at a service. And for others, it seemed to be a mix of each, which kind of makes sense. When you're faced with a change in your life as significant as MS, you're going to benefit from both social support and the ability to derive meaning from your specific circumstances. Perhaps through your own life and diagnosis, you found religion to be a powerful tool to building your spirituality, helping you cope with the challenges and changes of life and thriving with MS. In addition to, or even in place of religions, many people can also find spirituality reflected in their connection to nature or art forms, or their true selves, or anything else that gives them particular meaning in their life. In healthy adults, connection to nature is associated with increased happiness and well being, positive social interactions, pain reduction, and improved working memory performance. Additionally, research on the practice of forest bathing, which is a practice of immersing yourself in nature by mindfully using all five senses, shows that this immersion in nature has therapeutic effects on immune, cardiovascular, and respiratory systems. It reduces depression and anxiety symptoms by increasing relaxation and feelings of awe in healthy adults. Thus, for persons with MS, spending time in nature could support resilience and pain reduction. To practice forest bathing, engage your touch, hearing, sight, smell, and taste. Slow down. Take long breaths and be observant. How does that environment make you feel? What do you see and smell? Be mindfully observant of how you're interacting with wildlife, avoiding overthinking or judgments and to do lists, while staying in that space if you can. The attention restoration theory tells us immersion in nature is cognitively restorative because of natural settings that help to shift our attention away from exhausting directed attention. Nature helps us to experience effortless fascination with clouds, sunsets, the color of leaves, and natural settings engage the mind, and natural environments allow us to observe things like animals, gardens, hikes, and rest. And therefore, the potential for immersion in nature to improve your cognitive resources, specifically by reducing the fatigue associated with directed attention, may be especially helpful to people living with MS who experience cognitive problems and mental fatigue. People with a spiritual connection feel as there is a bigger purpose to everything, that we're all connected, and that there's meaning in this difficult situation for them. The idea that mind and body are closely linked and that well being of one relies on the well being of the other can help us to see our circumstances in life as meaningful. We all have what is known as the fight or flight response, which comes from stimulating a specific area in the brain called the hypothalamus during times of stress. However, intentionally activating other areas of the brain can modify these effects. Sometimes this is called the relaxation response and is a state of rest that changes the body's physical and emotional responses to stress. Studies have shown that people can practice this response and lessen the effects of stressful thoughts by repeating a word, sound, or phrase, or by engaging deeply with true art. True art are creations that reflect spiritual principles and values like creativity, generosity, honesty, patience, and perseverance, rather than tenets of fame, power, money, or greed. Art comes from the heart and likewise speaks from the heart. Maybe you've experienced this before, a moment with a painting or sculpture that made you feel entranced or delighted. Maybe it was a song or a musical performance that left you awestruck for the entire duration of the piece, not wanting it to end. These aren't simply aesthetic and pleasurable experiences, but also spiritual experiences because they were all in some small way transformative. To build your spirituality through your connection to art, you can start small. Appreciation of the arts may also be engaging in your creative activities for yourself. You might put brush or pencil to paper, read poetry, listen to acoustic singing, or play an instrument yourself. All art forms contribute to our spiritual development. Another part of the spiritual journey is connecting with one's true self, or the self that recognizes and trusts its own motives, emotions, and ideas, and recognizes its assets and growth edges, and acts in a way that reflects personal values and needs and allows true intimacy with others. When we get disconnected from our true authentic self, we can begin to feel empty, dissatisfied, and confused. Being authentic means being self aware or knowing and trusting your own motives and emotions, being honest in evaluating your own strengths and weaknesses, and acting in ways that are in line with personal values and needs, even at the risk of being criticized or rejected. Sounds simple, but it can sometimes feel like the most difficult thing. To start, we can apply the practice of a value based lifestyle through a science based philosophy and tools derived from acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT. So, first, let's do a brief review of ACT. While cognitive behavioral interventions, including cognitive behavioral therapy, are based on the tenets that cognitive and emotional well-being can be better understood through skill-based approaches to understanding unhelpful thought patterns and then modifying them in service of enhancing the way someone feels and behaves. Cognitive behavioral interventions have a strong evidence base for improving well being with people who experience significant and persistent negative mental health symptoms or even disorders. This goes for people who do and do not live with MS. ACT is a third wave cognitive behavioral therapy that balances both mindfulness and acceptance processes with a commitment to behavior change processes in service of reducing suffering while fostering engagement in value guided actions. And this framework focuses on several components. So here listed in this fancy hexaflex model, that allow for non-judgmental acknowledgement of uncomfortable and unhelpful thoughts without necessarily modifying these thoughts in an effort to develop psychological flexibility. Psychological flexibility is a set of skills that allow us to be connected to the present moment while acting on long-term values instead of short-term impulses. Today, we'll be focusing on learning about connecting with the present moment, our values, and intentionally committing to action in service of those values. Engaging specifically in this moment, the present, allows for experiencing life more fully and considering the current situational context to inform optimized decision making. Values are the ideas and concepts about us and the world that help us to guide decision making. Remembering we've all come to today's program with a diverse spiritual background and diverse experiences. The values we hold important may be directly or indirectly tied to our spiritual beliefs. Committed action acknowledges the aspects of a situation that we can and cannot directly affect. Often in living with MS, there are experiences that you didn't vote for or consent to, and yet it's still occurring. In acknowledging this reality and understanding one's own values, we can choose behaviors that amplify our values each day despite these circumstances and deepen connections to our own spiritual selves. Now, before we learn more about values, let's just connect in this moment together. If you feel comfortable, close your eyes as we engage in a brief mindfulness practice. Begin by grounding your body into the earth or the seat beneath you, noticing that your body can rely on your environment for support. Slow your breath with deep, slow inhales through the nose, pause, and then slowly, purposefully exhale through the mouth. Notice the cool air coming in through the nose, being warmed by the body, and leaving the body with each breath out. Notice what sensations you might be feeling without judgment. Allow them to occur without resistance. Notice tension begin to disengage and the muscles of the body unclench. And as you continue to breathe, acknowledge gratitude for yourself and the people who might be here with you, and that you've all decided to attend today's program in service of your own spiritual well being. Acknowledge this as an act of reclamation, and acknowledge the diverse community you are a part of and the support you've cultivated by being here today. We'll take two more deep breaths. And as you set your intention, I invite you to approach the remainder of this talk with curiosity. And as we move forward, let's meet Sasha. Sasha is a 36-year-old African American cisgendered woman who was diagnosed with relapsing remitting MS in 2012. She experiences moderate, intermittent, varying fatigue and neuropathic pain. She's employed full time as a sales executive for a Fortune 500 company. She has a husband and two young children and finds her spiritual connection through art. Let's keep Sasha in mind as we continue to think through some of the concepts of spirituality and values in action. Values are like a compass. On the next few slides, there are going to be icons of this compass. Knowing your most important values can serve as a guide to navigate obstacles that arise on any journey. For many of us, values may be closely linked to our experienced spirituality. Values also aren't good or bad, or right or wrong. They're individualized preferences. They're sort of like the toppings on pizza. Most people can usually find some version of pizza that they enjoy, but everybody might like different toppings. I don't happen to like pineapple on my pizza, but if someone does, it doesn't make them a bad person or me a bad person. Values are generally consistent during adulthood, but they aren't entirely static. As we experience and move through life, our spiritual journey, and our circumstances, things change. Our commitments, relationships, experiences, and so naturally our values will evolve with those changes. For example, my values from 15 years ago are not the exact values I hold today because they've evolved to meet the circumstances of a life that has changed. This evolution is important to recognize and evaluate with some regularity in service of creating greater alignment with our lived experience. Strong alignment between what we value and what we do can improve quality of life. On the flip side, disconnection between behaviors or situations and what we value can reduce quality of life. The value based compass can also provide insight into our own motivation. Motivation generally boils down to two main ingredients. How confident are we that we could engage in a particular behavior? And how important is it to us to engage in this behavior at this time? This level of importance can be directly linked to how meaningful and aligned the behavior is with our important values. For example, my wife likes the NFL and is a Packers fan. So let's just say it's her turn to take out the trash, but it's Monday Night Football and there's 2 minutes left and the Packers are down by 1 point. Now, she may have a 10 out of 10 confidence that she could perform that behavior, taking out the trash. However, this behavior is nowhere near as important to her as in that moment rooting for her team. So it's highly unlikely that even if she's confident that the behavior will actually be performed in that moment. However, once the barrier is removed, the end of the football game, this behavior will seem more important and aligned with her values, and she will likely engage in that behavior. So here we see the compass icon on the left, as well as the map icon with the dotted line toward an X on the right. The map can represent any number of situations that arise in daily life or with goals. Your values tell you what direction to go, while your goals are the steps that help you to get closer to living a meaningful life. Often, when making decisions about what to do, the answer isn't completely clear. For the most important decisions, we might even feel conflicted, and that's common. This conflict is an indicator that we might have more than one value competing with each other. Again, it's not right or wrong, but it is helpful to consider when weighing your choices in how you navigate your own path. But now that we understand the link between our values and spirituality, let's revisit Sasha and see how this might work in her life. Upon examining her values, she finds that her most important values are authenticity and being open and accepting to herself and others, caring towards herself and others and the environment, gratitude to appreciate the positive aspects of herself, others, and life, independence or being self supportive and choosing her own way of doing things, self development to keep growing, advancing, or improving, and trust to be loyal and sincere and reliable. So when Sasha considers her MS team and the many different providers that she might choose to be a part of that team, she uses her compass to direct which provider she selects. For example, for her, she decides that the most important features of a healthcare provider are ones who empower her toward independence, demonstrate caring, and facilitate trust. She seeks out providers who acknowledge the historical untrustworthiness of the American medical institution towards persons who have been marginalized or minoritized and demonstrate a commitment to providing equitable healthcare. Sasha knows that committed healthcare engagement will support her overall health and well being in the context of living with MS. From time to time, she might encounter challenges, but through using her compass, she knows that she can navigate those challenges. On days when she wakes up feeling more fatigued than expected, even though she was able to have a sleep all the way through the night, she chooses to modify her morning workout routine from 30 minutes of walking to 15 minutes of stretching to facilitate her own independence. This also allows her to prioritize activity for the remainder of her day based on her values and to apply her remaining energy toward those activities with the highest impact. Sasha is also a sales executive working 40 to 50 hours a week. She's offered a promotion, which comes with a raise, but it also comes with a commitment to work 60 hours a week. That's a difficult decision. And she notices a conflict between her values of self development taking a new and exciting job role, and caring, as she will have less time to spend with her family. She decides to negotiate a lower pay raise with this promotion to maintain her current level of work hours. And Sasha also has meaningful personal connections, though has noticed more conflict with her parents recently. They often insist on doing things for her even though she doesn't ask. She curiously wonders why this might bother her, even though that she knows that they mean well. Well, she recognizes that her value of independence is actually being violated in those moments. This understanding helps her to communicate what she is thinking and feeling with her parents more effectively. Between several competing demands in her life, Sasha is noticing limited time to care for her own needs. Upon reflecting on this dynamic and using her compass, she notices that her value of gratitude has been neglected, and this is leading to imbalance and misalignment. So she coordinates with her husband to protect an extra hour of time for her to practice self care during the next weekend, trying a new painting style and connecting with art. So now you might be thinking curiously, what could I do now? How can I put my own value based compass to work? Well, consider the following: review and assess your own value set. As a daily practice, remind yourself of this core set of values to strengthen your compass. Ask yourself, what is one value based activity I am not currently doing, but I could consider attempting in the next week? And finally, consider making intentional efforts to reinforce when you or the people in your life affirm your important values.